What's going on, everybody? I'm your host, Ben Ballion, back with another episode of the Sports Pod. And in today's episode, I'm going to talk about what the Jets and Giants draft strategy should be. Should the Giants take Shedeur Sanders? Should they take Abdul Carter? And what should the Jets' plan be at the 7th overall pick? I'll get into all of it on the other side of the intro. Hit it.
DiVincenzo at three. Bang! Bang!
At the wall, he jumps. It's gone. He did it. He did it. Pete Alonso with the most memorable home run of his career.
All right, getting into the episode, and I'm going to start with the Giants because this is undoubtedly one of the most important drafts in franchise history. For the Giants, just a little background on how the 3rd overall pick came to New York and came to Big Blue. The Giants were in the driver's seat for the number 1 overall pick the entire way throughout the season. They went on a 10-game losing streak in the NFL. They lost 10 Sundays in a row. That doesn't happen too often. But the Giants did it. But then Drew Luck just had to have a legacy game in the second to last week against the Indianapolis Colts. He carried the Giants to a victory. And in doing that, he lost the number 1 overall pick. And now he's not on the Giants anymore. Nice. He just lost us the number 1 overall pick and left. But winning that game could set the Giants back so much. Because they go from having their choice at Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders or Abdul Carter to being 3rd overall. There's 2 teams that are picking in front of them. The Titans, who need a quarterback for sure. The Browns, who could need a quarterback, but of what I've heard is that they're also really thinking about taking Abdul Carter, and that's just from stuff I've read online. And I wouldn't mind Abdul Carter for the Browns. I mean, you pair him up with Myles Garrett, that would be such a relief for Myles Garrett because he's not getting double teamed on every single play because you have another guy on the other side of the line and Abdul Carter who can do the same amount of damage if he continues what he did in college. The thing I worry about for Carter is that his injuries are going to be an issue. In just the past season, he's dealt with a shoulder, and he's dealing with a lower leg injury now that held him out of the combine and held him out of Penn State's pro day. So for the Giants, I want them to take Abdul Carter in the 1st round. If he falls to 3rd overall, which I think he will, I think 1 is going to be Cam Ward and 2 is going to be Shedeur Sanders, even though it shouldn't go like that. Number 3 should be Abdul Carter for the New York Giants. He's explosive. You pair him up with Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, Sexy Dexy. That would be such an unstoppable defensive line. The Giants were built in the trenches. That, if you look back to the 90s, to the 2000s, Lawrence Taylor, Michael Strahan, Justin Tuck, they won in the trenches. They won up front. It's time for Big Blue to get back to that big body, strength, intensity. That's got to be their MO next year. They're going to shut you down on defense. They brought in Javon Holland. They have all those guys I listed up front. They might have Abdul Carter after tomorrow night. They have Deonte Banks. We'll see what he does this year. They have Drew Phillips, showed a lot of promise last year. They got Tyler Newman. They got guys all over the defensive side of the football. The offense is the problem. However, I think the quarterback room is not going to be that bad. I think Russell Wilson could be fine. I think Jameis Winston can be fine. And then you could take a quarterback in the 2nd round. I would not mind taking a Kyle McCord. I think he would be all right on this team. And I think Brian Daboll could develop him into a useful quarterback, not a guy that is going to win you 12, 13 games a year, but a guy that he'll keep you in the mix. He'll win 7, 8 games. You'll be a fringe wildcard team. You'll be on the in the hunt graphic, which is something the Giants were so far away from last season. So far away from. Abdul Carter round 1, Kyle McCord round 2. And then you build up the offensive line. Maybe you take a tight end on day 2, something like that to fill out the draft. But let me just say this. There are 2 quarterbacks that the Giants should stay as far away as possible from. First, in round 1, don't go anywhere near Shedeur Sanders. I said just a couple minutes back that it shouldn't go Cam Ward 1, Sanders 2, Carter 3. Tankathon has the Saints taking Carter closer to 10th overall. Right now, I still think that the Browns are going to take him. Ashton Genty flew up the board to number 6 overall on Tankathon's most recent and final mock draft, but which surprised me, by the way. That's why I wanted to note it. Shedeur Sanders is not the move. There's going to be so much pressure on him. He's not going to be able to follow his father's footsteps. That's the thing. His father was a cornerback. His father was a wide receiver. Shedeur Sanders, yes, he might have the headspace to do it. He doesn't have the ability. He has sort of the size. I don't think he's that big. He doesn't have I guess he does have the arm strength. I just don't think he's going to work out. And I think it might be something to do with him being in the New York market. I don't think he's going to be able to stand up to the pressure, to the attitude that you have to be to play in New York, that you have to be as a starting quarterback in New York. The Giants have some good guys in that locker room. I think Russell Wilson's a good leader. I think Jameis Winston's an all right leader. I think he can be a good person. I mean, there was the whole scandal with him while he was at Florida State University, but he seems to have cleaned up his act. I mean, based off some of the on-field interviews that he's done. He's a funny guy, 100%. He's a jokester. I don't know if he's going to be able to mentor Shedeur Sanders in the way that he needs to be mentored. But Shedeur also does have a mentor at his house, in his family, in Deion Sanders, the guy who played in the NFL, had immense success in the National Football League. So from that aspect, he does have guys. He can be surrounded by good people, but will he surround himself with the right people? That's always the question. All these NFL players, the young kids, they can surround themselves with good people. There are good people to surround themselves with. It's just, are they going to make the right choices? Are they going to choose the good people? Or are they going to want to have fun and throw their career away, get in trouble with the law, and just not live up to the career they were supposed to have? Because Shedeur Sanders right now, there are people who think he's going to have an illustrious career and follow in his father's footsteps and be the best quarterback out of this draft. Right now, for me, I still think it's going to be Jackson Dart. I think Jackson Dart is so underrated. I think he's the perfect quarterback for Brian Daboll. They're just going to have a hard time picking him 3rd overall. If they were at 7th or 8th overall, if they could move back a couple slots, which I doubt happens, despite other teams calling the Giants to see what the status of that 3rd overall pick is, I don't think they're going to be able to move back deep enough to where they can feel confident in drafting Jackson Dart, who, if I look at Tankathon right now, let's see, where is Jackson Dart slotted in? Of course, it's not going to load because I want to do it. Look at it right now. But if I'm the Giants and I like Jackson Dart, I would take him 3rd overall, and I wouldn't think twice about it. He seems like such a good quarterback for Brian Daboll. He's got the arm strength. He's got the size. He was coached by a good head coach in college where he's been brought up around the right people. Let's see, Jackson Dart. I'm on Tankathon now. Okay. So Tankathon has the Giants drafting Jackson Dart, but in the 2nd round. My problem with that is that I don't think Dart reaches the 2nd round. If he can get to the 2nd round, Kyle McCord, you're out. Jackson Dart, you're in. Welcome to New York. I think he's going to get selected maybe 16th, 17th overall. I don't think. Let's see, where the Rams picking? That's one of the teams that I think can take. Yeah, 26th overall is where the Rams are at. I think he could go to the Rams, and we'll get some of these other picks. Maybe he'll go to the Steelers at 20th. maybe the Seahawks 18, maybe, not the Bucs. They got Baker Mayfield. But there are teams that I think need a quarterback, or at least a quarterback that might not play in his rookie season, but he will be a positive and overall good selection as his career evolves and as he grows as a player. I would love to see Jackson Dart go to the Giants at 34 overall. And if he's available, do not think twice about taking him every day of the week and twice on Sunday. I would be willing to select Jackson Dart in the second round. That was the plan originally. I thought the mock draft had changed and that Jackson Dart his draft stock skyrocketed and he was going to be within the top 15 picks. But no, he's still slotted in the second round, where that would be huge for the New York Giants. That would be huge. He's the other guy. I mentioned there's two quarterbacks that I think the Giants should stay away from. The other one is Jalen Milroe. I don't know how much explanation this one needs, but I'll give one anyway. Jalen Milroe is not an NFL quarterback. He moves around. He doesn't have the arm capabilities. He can throw the ball a little bit. He doesn't have the arm strength to be an NFL quarterback, as we still are moving into this West Coast air raid offense where everyone is throwing the ball. You're throwing the ball 35, 40 times a game. Running backs are not of much value anymore. Jalen Milroe is going to try to be the next Lamar Jackson. Going to try to be a guy that's running the ball, moving his team up the field with his legs rather than with his arm, which is where the game is trending. There was the whole talk about where his feet were placed, and this is more under the radar. This wasn't as public over the course of the offseason and as we lead up to the draft. But there was talk about where Jalen Milroe's leg placement was, where his feet were positioned when he's going to throw the ball versus where he's going to run. When the Alabama was going to run a running play, I don't know why I couldn't get that out. But that's stuff that could be fixed easy. That's not what I'm worried about. I'm worried that he just doesn't have the talent to be an NFL quarterback. And right now, I don't believe he does. I don't believe he does by any stretch of the imagination. He just doesn't seem like an NFL talented guy. He had Ryan Williams at Alabama. He had a bunch of guys on the offensive side of the ball. So wrapping up the Giants portion of this video, Abdul Carter round 1, and if he's available, Jackson Dart round 2. Let's get back. Let's win it up front. Let's win football games on the defensive line. And then rounds 3 through 7, you take a tight end and you build the offensive line. That's going to be the strategy for the Giants. Let's get to some Jets talk. Jets, Jets. For the first round, I think the Jets have to take an offensive tackle. There's two names that I've been seeing. Kelvin Banks Jr. out of Texas. He's an offensive tackle. Both these guys are offensive tackles. And Armand Membu. He's out of Missouri, I believe. It's either Missouri or Arkansas. Let me check it here. Tankathon doesn't like to load. It's Missouri or Arkansas. It doesn't matter. If you can build the offensive line, your quarterback is going to be Justin Fields. Justin Fields is a mobile quarterback. He likes to get out of the pocket. He likes to run. You need offensive linemen for those elaborate scrambles, design quarterback runs, read options, speed option, stuff where Justin Fields is not going to be in the pocket very often. Kelvin Banks Jr. and Armand Membu have both proven themselves at the college level, and I liked what they've done. But if the Jets don't want to take the offensive tackle, there are wide receiver options. I mean, I don't know how to say his name, but Teteroa McMillan, I think he's the best receiver that's going to be available to them. McMillan is slotted at 12th to the Cowboys right now. And as I'm on Tankathon, let me get it was Missouri is where Membu was from. I knew it was Missouri. I was thinking Arkansas, SEC, something like that. I don't know why. I just thought it was weird. Usually Missouri doesn't have football players going top 10. So I like staying with the offense for the first round for the Jets, but in the second round and in the third round and in the later rounds of this draft, I think they have to add to their defense. They got Quinnen Williams, they got Sauce Gardner, they've got a bunch of guys on the defensive side of the ball. You need to keep replenishing that with youth. You need to keep adding to that, as Sauce Gardner is going to be looking for a massive contract after this offseason. After Quinnen Williams is going to be looking for a huge contract coming up shortly. They're not going to be able to sustain this level of talent on the defensive side of the football if they don't draft young talent. It starts in the early rounds, and in the later rounds, rather. If you can draft a guy, make a big-time draft pick on a guy that develops and really you cash in on him, even though you didn't take him in the higher rounds, that would be huge for the Jets. Maybe you take one, maybe you take a safety, maybe you take a corner. One of the two works out. Hopefully, that's what they're going to be hoping for. But if it doesn't, then it's whatever, because it's a 4th, 5th, 6th round pick. It's a day 2, day 3 draft pick where it's not that big of a deal if those picks don't work out. But getting back to the offense, the offensive tackle is where I'm going to stay at. And I'm going to stay at Kelvin Banks Jr. I love that he's coming out of Texas. I love that he has that SEC pedigree, that the Texas is playing a lot of good teams every year. He blocked for Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers had a tremendous season. Well, I wouldn't say tremendous season, but the combination of Ewers and Arch Manning played pretty well, I would say, for the Texas Longhorns last year. And Kelvin Banks, he's at the forefront of it. I like the kid Campbell out of LSU. He's slotted at 4th. That's why I didn't add him to this list. But if he falls to number 7, I would like that for the Jets. I think that would be a great pickup for the New York Jets. But this, and I don't know, I'm bouncing all over the place right now, so I'm going to finish what I want to talk about with the offense first. I think they need another wide receiver. I mean, they had Alan Lazard last year. They have Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams. They had Devontae Adams, that is. Garrett Wilson's going to be the number 1, no doubt about it. The problem is, who's your number 2? If they could draft a guy in the second round, let's see. Let's look at some of the top wide receivers in round 2. Because the Jets, if they could take a wideout in round 2 and pair that guy with Garrett Wilson, that's pretty young. That's a pretty young wide receiving core that you can sustain for the next 5-6 years. That's a good amount of time in the NFL. As I'm trying to stall, well, Tankathon decides not to load for me again. It's okay. We don't have to do that. We'll keep moving on this draft preview show. This is a deep edge rushing draft. Now I'm just going to go to the defense and what I think they should do in the later rounds to really clinch a solid draft. This is a very deep draft in terms of edge rushing. There are going to be I think it was like 20 edge rushers taken in the first 2 rounds, which is a huge number for one position group. If they want to take an edge in round 2, I'm okay with it. And then going back to the Giants for a second, I like taking Abdul Carter at 3. Because if he's the best out of this deep of an edge rushing group, they have to be good. There's going to be busts in the group, but hopefully you're taking a safe chance with drafting the best one overall in Abdul Carter. At least that's what it was in college, as he outperformed everyone by a pretty wide margin. It's not too often you see, I guess edge rushers go top 5 pretty often. So that's not very valid. But it is a good feat if you're top of your class in a specific position. So for the Jets, getting back to them now, they should take an edge rusher. I mean, I already mentioned Quinnen Williams' contract could be expiring. The edge rusher is the way. That's one of the guys that's trying to get at the quarterback. The defense starts up front. That's the most important part of the defense. Because if you're not getting pressure on the quarterback, your cornerbacks could be as good as they want. The quarterback will find a way to make plays happen. That's what quarterbacks are in the NFL. That's what Patrick Mahomes does. That's what Lamar Jackson does. That's what Joe Burrow does. And I know I just named the cream of the crop, but those are the guys that you have to stop. Those are the guys that you have to beat up front. You got to get past the Chiefs offensive line. You got to get past the Bengals offensive line. You got to get past the Ravens offensive line to put pressure on those quarterbacks to make them get the ball out. Force them to make a play. And I know those guys are some of the best playmakers in the NFL, but you have to force them to make plays. Because, like I mentioned, if they have all the time in the world, something good is going to happen for their team, no questions asked. And if I'm the Jets, I got to be looking to take an edge rusher in probably the third, fourth, fifth round. In one of those 3 rounds, I need an edge rusher coming to Florham Park for training camp in July, August. So yeah, those are the strategies for the Giants. It's got to be Abdul Carter 3, Jackson Dart or Kyle McCord 2nd round, then build the defense and the offensive line in the later rounds of the draft. And for the Jets, it's Kelvin Banks Jr., the Texas offensive tackle in the 1st round. Then you take an edge rusher, you take a wide receiver, 2nd and 3rd rounds interchangeably, and build the offensive line and the defensive line as we get into the later rounds of this draft. All right, that's going to do it for this episode. If you enjoyed, please leave a comment, subscribe, like, share it with a friend. I really appreciate it. Download the episodes. Why not? Also, you can leave me a voicemail with your sports questions and takes at 848-305-8073. That's 848-305-8073. And one more thing. Make sure you go check out all my socials. They're linked in the description below. I'm posting nearly every day over there. And last but not least, make sure you keep it locked with the Sports Pod.